Forged documents in Russian psychiatry. In this video, I will cite documents and prove that the diagnosis of mental illness in Russia is made using fake documents. There is such an international classifier of diseases, including mental ones, ICD-10, the main document of the International Health Organization. And there is, as it were, a translation into Russian, ICD-10. It's funny that the translation is called World Health Organization, Class 5, Mental and Behavioral Disorders, F00F99, adapted for use in the Russian Federation. Pay attention to the word, adapted. It's really adapted. So, according to the adapted version of the ICD-10 dated March 24, 2021, the date is important. They periodically update their fake document. Schizophrenia is persistent delusional ideas of a different kind, which are inadequate for a given social culture and completely impossible in content, such as identifying oneself with religious or political figures, statements about superhuman abilities, for example, about the ability to control the weather or about communicating with aliens. Even funnier is the version of the quote from Wikipedia, March 24, 2021, from the old version of this fake document: persistent delusional ideas that are culturally inadequate, ridiculous, impossible and/or grandiose in content. Is the joke understood? Culturally inadequate is a phrase, not a scientific term. In other words, every psychiatrist should guess what this phrase means. It is most appropriate to assume culturally inadequate as a Baptist, oppositionist, or mathematician. Personally, I don't really think of other meanings of this phrase. In other words, the disease is called the oppositionist. The symptoms are described very accurately. How inadequate must the psychiatrist himself be to see the obvious symptoms of the oppositionist, to decide that this is a real description of the disease? It turns out, according to this document, the psychiatrist himself, making such a diagnosis, has schizophrenia and he needs injections. The authors of the forgery, that they were laughing so that the psychiatrist himself, making such a diagnosis, himself exactly corresponded to the diagnosis? What's in the same place in the original ICD-10 document of this so-called translation? And where is this list of symptoms with a description of the oppositionist, from which I took the quote? It is simply not there at all. That is, absolutely. This is called a forged document. Russian ICD-10, adapted, 100% fake. Let's look at another disease, paranoia. Does this disease exist? Again, Wikipedia, March 24, 2021. In the version of ICD-10 adapted for use in the Russian Federation, there is a subcategory of delusional disorder F22.01XX, paranoia. It also includes paranoid personality development. F22.8 and F22.88, other chronic delusional disorders, include the querulent form of paranoia. In the official ICD-10, issued by the World Health Organization, paranoia is not singled out as a separate heading. It corresponds to delusional disorder, code F22.0. So, officially, the disease does not exist, but in Russia it seems to exist. Naturally, this is an adapted version, especially for Russian psychiatrists. A very convenient disease. If security officers began to follow someone, no, there are no security officers. This is madness. And there are no wolves. Wolves are a fairy tale character. Then this is precisely a non-existent disease, paranoia. According to Wikipedia, in the classical view, those suffering from paranoia are distinguished by unhealthy suspicion, a tendency to see the intrigues of enemies in random events, to build complex conspiracy theories against themselves, while maintaining the logic of thinking in another. This is about an adequate, just adequate person who is being watched by agents or, for example, bank collectors. Everything is fine. In the official classifier of diseases there is no such disease. This is not a disease, these are security officers. Or collectors. I tested 2 mental illnesses. Both are fake. Apparently everything there is fake. I became too lazy to check further. Now in essence, my mother hit me 3 to 4 times by a frying pan on the head when I was 17 years old. My brain was seriously damaged. As far as I remember, I, for example, raped someone. I had memory problems for a long time. I sent the same emails to the same addressee like 15 times for 6 months. But I still continued to study at the university for grades. I recovered. Not so long ago I did an X-ray of the brain and no pathologies were found. I was lying in a puddle of blood and no one thought to heal me. Naturally, I have all the symptoms of the oppositionist, who will treat a schizo. Later, I realized that my religion was wrong and attempted suicide. Then they gave me a fake diagnosis of schizophrenia and began to feed me with poison. Schizophrenia in an outstanding mathematician? Are you out of humor? Soon I immigrated, or rather, was exiled to Israel, and pseudoscientists in Israel, one after another, confirmed the delusional diagnosis. Now about the ridiculous psychiatrist Elena from Ashkelon. The pitiful coward hid her last name from me. She is funny because she has a cycle in her head. Since I am a schizophrenic, the fact that my mother beat me is delusional. It means I was not beaten, which means I have schizophrenia. The full circle has been successfully completed. It turns out that Elena Dorodenkov is a beast, not a man. Only a beast can make such a stupid mistake. I do not want to serve the beast, because the apocalypse says not to serve the beast. So, she diagnosed schizophrenia. Obviously we are talking about childhood schizophrenia. I explain in another video that Elena is completely illiterate as a psychiatrist with a detailed description of the symptoms. The fact is that I discovered 3 to 4, depending on how you count, new fundamental branches of mathematics. No other person in history has discovered more than one. That is, it turns out that I am the best mathematician in history. Therefore, I decided to receive compensation from God for stupidity. I challenged all mankind to the judgment of God. With the help of my invention, I cursed the dislike button on YouTube. I am a fool and I will argue my position in a stupid way, and God will fulfill my claim, compensation for stupidity. 3 scary words. Actions of ordered semigroups. These 3 words are scary, firstly, because until 2019, no one thought to put them side by side. This is for 100 years. Secondly, I put them on the internet, so no one else will publish them. The place is already taken, and I myself have not really published them. It turns out that the development of human science has stopped. I killed you. And finally, and joke for the listeners. A method of unmistakable determination of truth has been invented. You have to ask a psycho. Psychos are always wrong, so we will flip it the other way around and we will consider it true. This joke is a technology for the destruction of mankind. If a person who is considered a nutcase puts forward the truth, it will be flipped the other way around and you die from a mistake. Action of ordered semigroups. By the way, I am now collecting documents for the first year at Harvard. In Russia, I was forced to leave the university 30 years ago. To know more about amazing Bible teachings, subscribe to this YouTube channel. To help the knowledge of the Bible and the gospel truth to spread, press like button and also donate by clicking support in the channel header. God will reward you for the donation. Let God bless you. This online Christian sermon video was prepared by the evangelical preacher Victor Porton to help you with Bible study.